So Nintendo the other day came out and made a statement acknowledging that they're working on new console ideas, which I don't think probably comes as a shock probably to many. Now the other day when I was doing a video, I made a statement talking about the poor Wii U sales. And that got a few people upset, proclaiming that I was shit-talking Nintendo, which I wasn't aware that stating facts was actually shit-talking. Because I'm not sure how you can look at the sales numbers for Wii U and conclude that the console is in great shape. I mean, November and December are the biggest months to move consoles, and in November, the Xbox 360 actually outsold the Wii U. And even though it had a year head start, both the PS4 and Xbox One have already surpassed the Wii U in sales. So the fact is, no matter how you try to spin it, the Wii U isn't doing so hot, and it's not going to come anywhere close to the success that the Wii had. It's not shit talking, that's just telling it how it is. But the real question is, how do they fix it? What went wrong with the Wii U? And I keep on seeing people say that Nintendo has the best exclusives, the most 1080p, 60 frames per second games, and they also have the most exclusives. And you would think by writing that out on paper that that would lead to the best-selling console for gamers. But as it stands, the Wii U is more often mentioned as a secondary console and rarely as a primary. So why? And I believe if you can answer the question as to why it failed this generation, then you can at least figure out what Nintendo has to do to turn it around with their next console. And trust me, I want Nintendo to succeed. So let's start looking at where they fell apart. First up, Nintendo does have a very strong exclusive lineup. I mean, I think that's pretty hard to deny. But one area where I do think their exclusives could benefit quite drastically is for Nintendo to create an online experience that catches up to 2014 or 2015, or hell, even catches up to 2010. Nintendo's online service is just simply piss poor, and piss poor is probably too nice of a term. Just look at the launch of Mario Kart 8, one of the biggest games released this year for the console, and it released without in-game chat. It released without the ability to invite friends into a game, and it released without message notifications. How in the hell does that happen? Can you imagine a multiplayer-focused game releasing on the PC or Xbox or PS4 where you couldn't talk in-game? You can't. It's unheard of. Multiplayer is too huge of a focus for many gamers today. And I get it that there's still a large crowd of people out there who like to fly solo. Look, I'm in that crowd too. I'm a bit of a hermit sometimes. But you have to build a system that meets the needs of many in the group. And there's a lot of people in the gaming community who like to play multiplayer, who like to play with their friends, who like to talk to strangers and meet new friends. And you cannot try to be a primary console without having some sort of decent online system these days. This has to be a section Nintendo invests in. Microsoft, Sony, PC, they've been doing it for over a decade, and it's time that Nintendo catches up to the times. And the second point is, when it does come to games, yes, exclusives do sell consoles and they sell platforms. Exclusives are very important. I've mentioned this plenty of times in the past. But Microsoft and Sony also have exclusives. Now, one can argue, depending on your taste, that Nintendo has more and better exclusives. So, what's missing here? If they've got better exclusives, what's missing as far as games go? The thing that Sony and Microsoft has that Nintendo doesn't is third-party support. Even when they're not pumping out exclusive titles, they've got tons of games still coming into the library that other people have developed. And Nintendo has tried to bring in more third-party content this gen, but so far, I mean, it hasn't been that great. There are an insane number of good games that are multi-platform that's coming out for Sony and Microsoft and PC that are skipping the Wii U. And they're skipping it for a couple of reasons. One is the hardware specs, so demanding games are going to be skipping it. And two, the sales aren't high enough for companies to come out and invest money into building games for that platform. And a lot of developers have stated that. You cannot build your entire platform on just exclusives and games that you keep remaking over and over. You have got to embrace other developers and other games if you want to be a primary console. And the third area where I think they really screwed up was, we talked about Microsoft. Everybody gave Microsoft hell for pushing Kinect on consumers without giving them a choice. And I honestly see no difference between that and Nintendo pushing their tablet on everybody. And this is one argument that I've brought up plenty of times, and people still get upset about it because they say, well, I really like the tablet. It really adds to the console. Well, that's fine and dandy. I believe that the Kinect adds to the Xbox console and adds some really nice features. But let's face it, it's unnecessary. The Xbox didn't have to have Kinect, and Nintendo did not have to have this tablet. We've been playing games for a long-ass time with just a regular controller sitting in front of the TV. But this gen, Nintendo decided to come around and say, hey, look, you don't just need a big-ass screen in front of your couch that you can sit in front of and watch. You also need a big-ass screen in between your hands so you can watch both of them. It was an unnecessary accessory that brought up the price of the system, which brings up the fourth point, which is price. And I still think the Wii U is overpriced whenever you compare it to PS4 and Xbox. I mean, you can go buy a Wii U 32GB Deluxe Edition right now on Amazon for $340. But if I'm a gamer trying to decide, do I want to buy a platform with just exclusives, with just 32GB for $340, or do I want to look at the Xbox and PS4 and maybe spend $9 more or $50 more in order to get a 500GB system that also has exclusives, that also has third-party support, but also has an online multiplayer system that blows Nintendo out of the way? For me, that choice is clear. And I think if you look at the sales numbers, it was also clear to a lot of other gamers. And that's why other consoles like the 360 are still outselling the Wii U. So I'm glad Nintendo is looking forward. I'm glad they're talking about a new console that is in the works or being discussed. And it's not because I hate Nintendo. It's the actual opposite. It's because I love Nintendo. I grew up on it. I want them to succeed. I want to have a reason to pick one up. But in order to move forward, you gotta understand what's held you back. And a little tough love, I think, is in order with some constructive criticism. And Nintendo needs to deliver better hardware. They need to reach out to more third-party devs. They need to build a decent online infrastructure. And they need to make unneeded accessories optional. And when they can do that, then I think they'll be back in the running for a lot of gamers as a primary console. So, post below, let me know, what do you think? Do you think it's time for Nintendo to start rolling out a new console pretty soon? Or do you think it's too soon to start talking about that? And do you think the Wii U still has a chance to make a big impact this generation? What does Nintendo need to do to turn it around? Post your thoughts below. That does it for me, The Red Dragon. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.